Welcome back to Parallel Barking. I'm Ariana, Bark Bark, and I'm here with my co-host.
Larry Backer, woof woof.
I I struggle here because you always say my puppy, and I don't know what the analogous noun to that would be.
Oh, old dog.
My old dog. I don't know if that really, I
The
guess we
old
could go
dog.
the old dog,
The old dog.
the old dog.
Yeah, I know. But we're both here because we've heard the call to duty and we
We are
had to
here for the
get
call.
off our Candy Crush
Oh, that's a
so
good
that
one.
so
That's
that
a good
we
one.
talk about the world of Warcraft.
Oh my God. Yeah, so if you didn't get it from that, we're gonna talk about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard King deal because everybody's talking about it. Why not? Why not join?
All
It
right.
started back in January 2022 when Microsoft announced it. Um, and
So what are they doing?
they want to purchase the Microsoft wants to purchase Activision,
Why?
which is a because they want to be able to sell those games on their platform.
Oh, you mean Activision's games?
Yeah,
Why didn't they develop their own games?
they do.
So what's wrong with their games that they have to
There's
get?
nothing wrong with their games.
They just want to buy more games from an established company with a huge market share.
Yeah, and they want to be able to do more things with them and put them on other Microsoft platforms. And I think the big thing about it is that Microsoft has this new thing called Game Pass on their device, their Xbox device. And it's kind of like, for those of you who are old enough to remember, uh, on the Sega Channel. It's
Oh,
kind
now
of
who's the old dog?
it's kind of just like an the Netflix of games. Like you pay monthly
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean,
have an
and that's the
Xbox.
thing, right? And that's the thing, isn't it? It's about money, and in this case, it's about money, and it's about them neither having the time nor interest to plug a hole that they had, and apparently that hole has to do with oh, what do you call it? With mobile gaming.
Right, but to be fair, um other gaming systems have access to these games, and Microsoft has said that they don't plan to restrict or foreclose access to the games.
Sure. And I can tell you that I fly, and I can tell you that my hair uh, produces bunnies and apples
I think that's a
in the autumn.
stipulation of the deal, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hooray.
You weren't you a contract lawyer?
Right. And what do we know
If you
about
cross
contracts?
if
Except in Europe.
if you breach the contract, then you pay a lot of money.
You pay damages.
You pay
And at,
damages.
and at some point, if the damages that you have to pay is smaller than the benefit you get from breaching the contract, the theory of efficient breach, then does it make sense for a rational actor to breach a contract?
So then we have to come up with damages that are sufficient to be sufficient punishment for Microsoft.
Well, then you're not talking about contracts anymore. You're talking about the subterfuge of using contracts as a substitute for regulation. These are both big boys and girls, and whatever gender it is these companies have taken on for
Well,
themselves.
isn't that what contracts are for? What
No,
contracts are a
contracts are to
form
create
of,
a private law between the two parties to them, uh,
but
and
they're a form of regulating behavior.
they're a private form. Very good. Yeah, that's right. They're a private form of regulating behavior between the two parties, some of which is quote unquote subsidized by the state through principles of contract law and enforcement, but part of it involves how they make and protect themselves in the transaction that they're both party to. And this happens all the time. But yes, you're right. In this case, the issue is availability of the games on a bunch of platforms. But the big hangup for them isn't the contract. The big hangup, speaking of regulation, I thought this is where you were going with the regulation bit, is that this deal we should have closed months ago now has been extended to October because the parties have had to do a round robin to go to every competition, that is
Oh,
every
yes.
trust
No.
agency
For the
on
deal
earth.
to close, it needs global approval
Well, not
from,
global approval.
yes, it does.
Well,
It
no,
needs
but what does
from,
global approval mean?
it needs global, it means it needs approval from national regulatory boards
A bunch of them,
and committees.
a
And
bunch of them.
which include the South African Tribunal.
Right.
Um,
The Chinese, the UK, every place where Microsoft wants to offer these games.
absolutely. Which I
Well,
think
cool.
39 countries so far have approved.
Okay. And think about how your subscription cost to Microsoft Game Pass is going to increase to subsidize the amount of lawyer fees
To be
that.
fair, to be honest, actually, it already has increased a little bit. But there are a couple levels of access to Game Pass. They have a few. They have like, I guess, like an economy level.
Okay, so the peasant level, the working class level,
Hmm.
the pretentious bourgeois level,
Yes, yes,
I think I've crawled out of the middle class level,
yes, yes,
and then
yes.
the I don't care how much it costs level.
Yeah, just take my money level.
Oh,
Hmm.
cool. But I want to get back to this antitrust thing,
Yeah.
which makes this interesting. So what winds up happening, everyone thinks that, we've all gone global and that makes everything seamless. But there are a number of areas, and this one I think is one of the most interesting, where states still continue to retain a substantial amount of authority within a complicated web of agreements and understandings and principles and interlinking and international instruments and the
We
like.
have come a long way since the first international transnational company. Wasn't that from Rockefeller? Yeah.
Oh no, the first transnational company dated there.
Well,
It
yeah, I
depends
mean,
on how you.
technically, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Technically, it was
but
like
it's not the trans.
way before
It's
that.
not the transnational. It's the ability of the government to block a company
You're
from.
right. Yes, from actually doing business.
Well, no, not from doing business in this case, from taking the contract and consummating it. So in this case, the holdup is with these antitrust and competition authorities is that each of these countries can determine, because it has national security implications, it has national macroeconomic implications, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Um, they can all decide whether, to what extent, the consummation of this deal will have anti-competitive effects within their countries using rules. In Europe, there's kind of a blended, semi-blended rule system. The Americans do their own, the South Africans do their own, the Indians and the Chinese do their own, but every one of these folks can block. And what winds up happening, of course, is that in a mega deal like this, you'll get approvals. You're going to have to get approval from everyone that's got a competition board or something like it. And generally speaking, if a small country or a country with markets that are insignificant to you want to block it, then your answer is, well, okay, I guess we're not going to offer, we're not going to go through with this deal in your country. But if the market matters, and the markets matter in Europe, in the US, in South Africa, in India and China, then those competition authorities have a lot of clout to hold up the deal. But to do more than that, because they both can hold up the deal and they can put pressure on the parties to the deal to make changes.
Right, and
Sometimes,
that's the thing. Like that they will accept or approve based on specific, remedies to.
right. And in this case, there was actually an interesting remedy, and one that I suspect that a lot of people would not be unhappy with. And that is that Microsoft has had to cut deals with Nintendo, Nvidia, with respect to games like Call of Duty, to make the games available. And I think that the deals have been for 10 years to
Yeah,
make the deals available on the platforms of these competitor companies so that they can make a little bit of money too. But that, in the absence of these competition agencies putting pressure on Microsoft and Activision, these deals might or might not have occurred, and things might have gotten more brutal. But yeah, so we see that occurring. And um, for the right now, it looks like they've cleared all hurdles with one exception: the British.
yeah, the CMA, I don't think.
Well, they're going to have to cut some kind of a deal with the Brits. I don't know what the Brits are looking for. The Americans were pressing, but at some point, and fairly recently, I think it was July 11th, Microsoft was able to convince a court that they've given what they need to, and that the deal is more or less fair. And a federal judge blocked or denied the Federal Trade Commission's bid to block the transaction. And if I understand correctly, the Federal Trade Commission has now kind of said, okay, is that your understanding?
Yeah,
So it's a go in this country, assuming that all these other deals are in place.
yeah, basically. I mean, I'm gonna hold my breath until October is
Yeah, we'll
really.
see. That's right. That's right. Um, and apparently, what the Brits are concerned about is that the merger could harm the market, the nascent market for cloud gaming or streaming of video games over the internet. Um, and so there may have to do a little bit of restructuring to satisfy the UK regulators. And these are the press reports. I don't know what the details are. I'm sure the details will give us all migraines and will involve some fairly intense and very technical negotiation, and probably some deals with some UK-based platforms.
I think
But
that's
given
reasonable. I
right,
mean, I think um Microsoft is on the right path, but they could probably definitely do more with as much market share as they will and are going to have with cloud gaming, for the independent game creator,
yeah.
giving them space. Yeah, I think they could probably do more.
So what we really need to do is create a new game. It's Call to Competition, which which is the competition chessboard version or battle version of Call of Duty. And what we'd have is groups of lawyers all over the country. You can choose what your country of choice, and your object is to use your regulatory authority by invoking a small number of permitted excuses: national security, protection of national markets, protection of macroeconomic planning, north-south disparities. We can do a number of them. And then the object of the game is we'll have some of the players are actually they want to create a merger, and then other players are these regulatory authority. And the object of the game is to see who can wind up with the most benefit. We just have to figure out how you measure the benefit, who can come up with the most benefit at the end of a deal. with extra points to the states if they could actually torpedo a huge deal. So if you have a small state like Cameroon's that is able to torpedo the Microsoft Activision deal worldwide, that would be an automatic game winner.
Oh my God. I
Right.
mean, that would certainly be entertaining.
Yes, but it, one of the most interesting things about this, and part of the thing, of course, is because these are high profile games, people who ordinarily wouldn't give 5 cents about antitrust laws and all of these nuanced things. Now all of a sudden, a lot of people are worried, and they're worried because they may or may not retain access, or they may have to pay a whole lot more, or access may become more difficult to games that they now believe they cannot do without. And you are looking at communities, I mean, huge communities of people that are deeply invested in these games. I think one of them, the World of Warcraft,
Yes.
um,
Well, and Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, and World of Warcraft. These are huge communities, right?
Yes.
And
I
so
mean, and honestly, I mean, but there are also huge communities on PCs. Like, it's not just on the
your phone.
Xbox or on your phone or on the PlayStation. Um,
Sure, you're using all kinds of hardware, and to the extent that you can control access irrespective of the hardware, it's all the better. But I'm thinking of it from a naughty perspective.
let's
I'm
hear
always
it.
thinking the naughty angle. So when we look at this, and when you look at the press reports, right, it's all about, will the deal be done? What kind of concessions does Microsoft have to make? Why is this good for Microsoft's business? The usual kind of things. What does the state want in terms of competition? But I'm thinking of this now from the perspective of data-driven governance, the management of communities, and regulation through the control of the scope of business activities worldwide by controlling access within my country. And in that context, of course, what you see here from the regulator's perspective, perhaps, and even from Microsoft's perspective, if I now control if I now own World of Warcraft, or I own Call of Duty,
Hmm.
I now own not just a space where a large community, a very devoted community, engages in their work, but I own two other things. One, the development of the game. So to some extent, if I were interested, I could begin managing the game, to manage the community to do or not do certain things, or look at the world in certain ways. But the other thing I can do is I can extract all kinds of data from the community. And in the cheap version of these things, like these movie streaming systems, I might be able to include all kinds of ads and the like, not in the middle of the game, but maybe you have to sit for a minute and listen to some
I
advertisement
mean,
before
ads are everywhere.
ads are everywhere, right? And so one of the things that we don't really talk about very much, and it to some extent it touches on competition, but it really doesn't, is the way in which these games really are. They are the creation and management of these spaces where you've got a captive or a devoted community that you can either study, you can nurture, you can guide, you can draw from. And that's some really interesting potential there. Uh, and it's not clear what, whether, or how any of that is undertaken. Certainly, from a game development perspective, I'm going to want to know patterns of action, if only to develop games to keep my community interested. I'm going to want to develop, what are those things called, those community open spaces where people can gripe about, or develop, self-help, like the Apple community boards, where they come together.
Yeah.
And right, but all of that is data, all of that is information, all of that is then useful, and it's useful to a variety of actors in a variety of different ways. None of that seems to be on the minds of, at least as reported in our press organs, none of this appears to be of particular interest to the states or to either Microsoft or Activision. But I find that somewhat odd that in
Well,
fact it isn't. Because for me, the goal here isn't just getting a couple pennies from my Microsoft Glory Pass to Gamedom subscription service, but it's also in having an end to the chatter in these communities and to using that both to fix and develop these games and then to develop new games.
so you're talking specifically about reviewing like um chat room feedback as
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
no, access,
data.
right, access to that. Now, one of the things that they can argue is, well, you're free to put these up anywhere you want, and Microsoft can't control them. In this case, or the owner of these games, Activision for the moment. And so you don't have that. But on the other hand, the owner of these things can also develop an official space for discussion. They can have the equivalent of these, not one of my favorite little things, these little town hall-y things, or these spaces where people can come and I think Apple will do this too, a space where the company will have people in there who are monitoring and may then provide workarounds, responses,
Yeah.
and the like.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened when I took um I don't want to say the company's name, but it was great. I took courses
And stuff.
in stuff. And they when I had questions, I would ask like a proctor and they would answer, you know, within a few minutes to an hour, and it would just be posted on a message board.
Right. And so for me, that's, for you, it's being helped in and being responsive. For me, it's all kinds of data that's very useful. What are my clients, or what are my users
Yeah,
finding difficult?
absolutely. And it
So,
so what would be your main worry about that data?
no, I'm not worried. I'm just noting. The worry is the usual one, which is abuse, um, uh, uh, manipulation in ways that might not, and in ways that are concealed or that are not made apparent to the people who are the object of these things. And in some places, the use of personal information without consent. So these are all things I don't worry about it as much as knowing that it's there. It's there for the taking. That the information is being generated. There's likely to be someone who are looking at it, but the Activision deal caught my eye, not so much because of its movement and the fight over gaming, but for me it was for what gaming represents. Communities of users who are kind of in a space that, if you are of a mind, as you choose games and you manage the rules of the game and the way the game is played, they're extraordinary vessels for training people to do or not do things. And it's not like this isn't something that uh,
I mean, people
computer
know.
companies, right?
People know
From
this. I mean, games are great
uh,
training and educational tools. I mean, they have games now that uh, are helpful in teaching emotions and psychological states
right,
and why people do things. I
right,
mean,
but go back to the beginning, right? I got a population that doesn't know that the word mouse now no longer means a kind of living rodent thing that runs around the house. And I've got a huge global population that I have to train in using a mouse. I can have a teacher produce a YouTube video, have a teacher drone on, or I can offer for free a game, solitaire, for example. And I
Absolutely.
can, right. And so you see this now. The good news is that it was very clever and it was very useful. For me, the bad news is if you're going to do this, and this is one of your ideals, it would be nice to know uh, that in fact what you're doing is you're using this as an interactive training technique, and even more interesting, whether in fact you're going to find the data of my, you know, over the course of thousands of games of solitaire, whether for some on some basis or for some reason the patterns of my interactions with the cards will be useful for something.
Oh yeah. Would you want to know before or after?
I'd want to know before, and I'd want to know during. And then we, you know, and of course, uh, behind all of this is the notion of ownership and control, which are distinct things.
If the
We can own
result
this.
of the training would be better if you knew after, would you want to know before or after?
I still want to know before.
Hmm.
And in the solitaire example, it's really easy because I go, oh, I know solitaire. So, oh, this is very cool. So, oh, so they're going to use solitaire now, which I like to play. They're going to use it to train me to use a mouse. Oh, that's very clever. All right, I'll keep using it. But I also want to know that, in fact, what they're using iteration after iteration after iteration of solitaire to begin to develop a robust AI
A
or
learning
big
model.
data,
Well,
a data model, right, in which I am an unpaid beta tester or a tester or an unpaid generator of data. Thank you very much. You know, I might have been less willing to do that. Uh,
oh, would you have just put up a stink then instead? I'm just giving you a hard
yeah.
time.
Well,
No,
you
I
know, no, but
totally
that's a
understand.
really good question. That's a really good question
And what I
because you're
think
right.
is it's a different sense of comfortability with sharing your data, I guess. With I mean, I some people I think would answer quite differently. And I'm not saying whatever's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I just think
Well, solitaire is an easy example. Let's do a harder one. You remember that game? I forgot the name of it, where you were breaking the law all the time. What was it called?
so many games.
Yeah. But it was the car theft one, I think.
Oh, Vice City. Oh, hold up. Gosh, why everybody is gonna be yelling
I know they're
in
gonna be yelling.
at
They go, "Oh my
us.
God, yeah,
Why
what
don't
is wrong with
you?
you?"
You are so. I'm
All
looking
right. So
it
for
up.
example, so without naming names, let's that way to cover our ignorance. Um, I want to teach people
Grand
about
Theft Auto.
what?
Grand
Grand Theft
Theft
Auto.
Auto.
That's what it was. That's why I kept
Uh,
thinking car theft. Right, Grand Theft Auto. So I want to teach
Car
people.
Theft Vice City.
Yeah. So I want to teach. I want to teach everyone about the criminal law.
How to live in the city.
No. I want to teach everyone about the criminal law. Right. So I'll invent Grand Theft Auto. And
All
as
right.
Right. Now, one thing that I'm teaching people, if I design the game correctly, is that if you do X, then you violate Y. And so everyone will begin to get a sense that, you know, stealing a car will let, you know, you get in jail for whatever, and
Or at least
murdering someone or
police will
mugging
chase you.
right, or mugging someone. Right. And so you can use that to kind of train people in the arcana of the criminal law. On the other hand, depending on how you develop it, you can also develop in your community a taste for doing this, because now you know exactly what the cost
Yeah.
is and whether or how one can avoid it.
Oh, that's a good point. I see
And,
where you're going with this.
and even worse, if I've got a million people playing this game, now we're getting very close to the what was that silly movie about the where people could anticipate when you were going to commit a crime?
Oh, why are you doing this to me?
Minority Report,
There you go.
right? Right, Minority Report. If I get everyone to play Grand Theft Auto, I'm going to have a much better sense about both the criminal, the way in which, from a big data perspective, a given population will react to incentives to criminality, and then use that. So this is much more pernicious than solitaire. I can use that to then aid in my policing, whether my policing is going to be very aggressive in
Oh
ways that some people don't want. Right, right.
no.
And then, of course, if we follow the model of Activision and Microsoft, as long as I can put this on everyone's platform so that they're all dipping their beak into this data well, including the state or consultants or whoever, now all of a sudden you've got something very, very interesting. So something that looks kind of, oh yeah, who cares about games? Actually, we all really ought to care about games. Some folks that I know are already positing the end of the university as we know it, because the university is actually obsolete. If you develop a carefully crafted set of games, you can essentially train people for a variety of different things that the old model, right, required you to attend class and have a teacher, blah blah blah, in front of you. Now, it doesn't mean that it'll be completely obsolete, but it does suggest that, in fact, when you're looking at gaming, you're looking at community, you're looking at an extraordinary font of input for modeling, predictive analytics, AI, big data management. And you're also looking at the way in which states have to deal with their markets, and how they use that, not to regulate directly, but effectively to regulate indirectly by essentially conditioning their approvals for these contractual mergers, these combinations, by getting the companies to agree to do certain things. So woof woof.
After that, after all of that, all right, well, I guess we'll all have to wait till October to see how it all pans out.
In the meantime, keep playing World of Warcraft.
And Call
And,
of Duty,
but of
and maybe
course,
even Candy Crush.
yeah, although now I'm thinking for World of Warcraft, I may be much more strategic in the kind of data I generate by my World of Warcraft behavior, just to mess up the or by doing it, maybe I'm not messing it up. Who knows? So that's my
I
last
mean, you're
point.
still playing, so
Right,
whatever
but
you're doing.
ah, but now all of a sudden you're playing for yourself. What happens if you know all of this? You can develop sub-communities of subversives who will deliberately play in particular ways to manage or manipulate the kind of data and data streams that are going into the whatever programs are being used for predictive or other analytics or for the game. So this becomes a much more interesting thing.
I
Uh,
bet you they'll develop tools to start picking up those patterns.
right, right, and all of it without our consent, without our knowledge, and et cetera, et
I mean,
cetera.
humans are humans are humans.
Oh my
We'll
God.
keep on fighting and playing amongst each other.
Woof woof. I guess we'll have
Bark,
to become, oh wait,
bark.
what are they called? Furries. Well,
Oh no, 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 no. We are ending here. Thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
woof woof.
Bark, bark.